Hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today I will be picking the books I want to read in May with my TBR game. Let's see how I did in April first. I had to read all my books of my March TBR before I could start with my April books. I didn't quite start them before I started my April books, but I did manage to read all of the books from my March TBR. And they were Middlemarch by George Elliot, Sanda by Pieter Huybrechts, and Fair Play by Tove Janson. And the last one was also my pick for TBR Spin in April, where I picked a book to read by an author I've read before, so that fulfilled that prompt. I read All I Am by Bettens, which was for a memoir or biography. I read the Transgender issue for a non-fiction book. I read Genderqueer to read a book with LGBTQ plus representation. And I am almost finished with Cantoras by Carolina de Robertis, which is a book from South America. And then the books I didn't get to were East of Eden by John Steinbeck, which was for the reread fiction prompt. But I am hosting a read-along of this book in May, so I will get to this in May. And I also didn't read Fool's Fate by Hobb. But again, I am really looking forward to reading this book. So I think I will pick it up after I finish Cantoras. So yeah, these I'll try and fit into prompts in May again. And then I had one book buying prompt, which then got turned into a library prompt. And that was pick a book using the book concierge. And I ended up picking up Nightcrawling by Leila Mottley from the library because it would fit one of the prompts for the feminist reading challenge I'm doing as well. But I haven't read that one either. I think it has to be returned sometime in May, so yeah, this one I'm also hoping to add to my TBR. So that was a quick recap of April. I'm also hoping to add The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri to my May TBR, because it is the book for May for the Blind Eye book club. I'm not sure if I got that right. Hosted by Kim over at Middle of the Book March. So I'm hoping I can join in with this one as well. That's all I had to say. Let's just quickly get into the roles for May. I ended at number 12 last time, and here's role number 1. That's 1. And that says hopeful, which is one of the Storycraft prompts. So the first prompt was hopeful, which is where I used the Storygraph to look for books that are tagged as hopeful on my TBR. And I didn't have that many options. The only thing I could find was Loveless by Oseman. I am actually already listening to this on audiobook, so I might actually be finished before the end of the month. But it's the only option I have. Otherwise I will just see if there's something in audio I can listen to that is tagged as hopeful. Roll number 2, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is one of the special prompts where I combine 2 prompts to pick one book. So we have a book from Europe and a book with a building on the cover. The second prompt was to actually combine 2 prompts, and I got a book that is from Europe that also has a building on the cover. And I didn't have that many options. In fact, I only had one, and that was Summerwater by Sarah Moss. I don't know if you can see, but it has these cabins by the edge of the water. So that's going on my May TBR as well. I really like Sarah Moss as an author. I really like her style, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. Rule number 3 is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is Tense, which is another one of the Storygraph mood prompts. Then I got Tense, which is like Hopeful, another Storygraph prompt. And again, I had very few options. In fact, I couldn't find any on my physical TBR. I decided to pick Weerlicht by Janson, which is a Dutch book. That one doesn't actually have any of the descriptions on the Storygraph, but maybe that's because it just has such a low number of ratings. But a few people who wrote a review marked it as a tense book, so that's as close as I'm going to get. Roll number 4 is 3, 1, 2, 3, which landed on the goose, so that's a book buying prompt. And that is a book with POC wrap. Prompt number 4 was to buy a book by a author of color. I have quite a few ideas for this one. I think I'll look on my reading challenges of the year and see if I can buy something that would fit one of those. Roll number 5 was a book published between 1946 and 1985, and I could read Easterveden for that. I'm pretty sure. I think it's published in 1950 something. Yeah, 1952, so that counts for that prompt. Roll number 6 is 1. Use a random color generator to pick a book. Prompt number 6 was a random color, so I'm going to use a random color generator to pick a color. And the color I got was this sort of lime green. I think it shows up a bit lighter on the screen than it actually is. I think the book that fits the most is this one, The Adventures of China Ayan by Gabriela Cabezón Cámara, which is translated from the Spanish by Fiona McIntosh and Iona McIntyre, and the author is from Argentina. I can't really remember what this book is about, but I've heard very good things about this one. Roll number 7. Read a slow-paced book. And prompt number 7 was a slow-paced book, and for that I will be reading Fool's Fate by Robin Hobb. This is a book in the middle of a series, and it is indeed a very much slow-paced, character-driven fantasy series. It isn't boring in any way, actually quite a lot of things happen, but it isn't maybe as action-packed as some fantasy books are. That's probably why it's more slow-paced than some other fantasy books. Roll number 8. That is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A return to author, so an author I've read before. Prompt number 8 was a return to author, so an author I've read before, and for that I will be reading The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri, because I have read some work by her before. I've read The Interpreter of Melodies, one of her short story collections, and another book as well, but I can't quite remember which one that was. But this is the first full-length novel of hers I will be reading. Roll number 9. 1, 2, 3. And that says short stories. And prompt number 9 was to read a short story collection, and for that I will be reading Skinship by Yoon, Choi. This was actually a book I picked up at the bookstore as a sort of blind date with a book kind of thing. where you buy a book that is wrapped up, but you have a few keywords written on the wrapping, and so you can sort of guess what the book is like. I can't remember which words were on the cover, but something in it intrigued me, so yeah, really looking forward to this one as well. And finally, rule number 10. It's 2, 1, 2, and that is another book buying prompt. And that is a book in translation. And then prompt number 10 was another book buying prompt, and that was to buy a book in translation. Again, I will be looking at my reading challenges. I know the Feminist Reading Challenge has, I think, to read a book by an Arab author. So I think I'll sort of look into that category and see if I can buy something from there. So yeah, those were all the prompts. Here's my reading stack, and then I also want to add night crawling in there somewhere. So there we have it, my April TBR. I am pretty excited about this stack. I think there's a lot of variation and a lot of different things to dive into. I'm especially looking forward to my read along of Easter Veden. We're going to start reading at the middle of May, so if you are interested, there is still plenty of time to join. You are very welcome to read along if you want to, or if you want to read any other of these books with me, then I'm also always interested in doing buddy reads with anyone. So leave a message down below, or if you just want to talk to me about any of these books, or just say hello, whatever, it's all fine. I just enjoy hearing from you. So that's it for today. I hope you had a good day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.